And good afternoon, everyone. What's happening? Happy Thursday. How's everything going? I can't even talk. How is everything going? Hopefully your week is going great. I'm Steve Leahy. This is Thursday Live. As promised, we're going to finish up this painting of Jenna Ortega, this freehand painting that I started on Monday. I've done a little bit of work on it during the week just so I know I could kind of get it done today. I didn't want to leave too much. We might not get it done. There might be some extra stuff that I want to do to it, but for the most part, we'll get it pretty much there. I don't have a whole bunch of show and tell, so we're just going to get right into it. So that's what I got. Welcome, 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 and happy daylight savings time to my friends in the UK. Finally got their clocks changed last weekend, so we are back to 1 p.m. in Eastern Standard Time, and we'll run at this time right up until the whole daylight savings time happens again in 6 months. So anyway, welcome. We switch over and we'll look at some stuff. This is what I got so far on this. I posted it on all the socials, just kind of, where I was with it. So we're just gonna pick up from there. I set up the palette cam and everything, and I don't need it because we're not painting. So that works out really, really well. Once we get going, I'll kind of show you the some of the David Naylor stuff, and David was certainly the inspiration for me to do this painting at this time. So yeah, that's what I got. Comments over here maybe. Yeah, right, sure, yeah, something like that. There we go. Hey Michael, what's up? Simon Carter, what's happening? Long time no see, Michael. Timothy John Luke Smith has his live feed on Wednesday nights, so we were hanging out last night with everyone watching Tim do his thing with his Eddie Murphy painting, which is coming out awesome. So it's a lot of fun. I'm gonna try to keep an eye on the comments, but I'm just really gonna try to get this rolling. Kelly Drake, what's up? What's up? What's on? What's up? 10 minutes. I'll take it. I'll take it, Kelly. Welcome. Oh, there we go. Michael can't hang around either, so that's fine. Excellent. Okay. Well, I'm glad you guys are here for the time you're here. That's awesome. And all right, let's get going. So again, so this is basically just it's black and white, obviously, and I'm using Createx Wicked Opaque colors, just white and black, a couple airbrushes, and that's it. No stencils, no copies, no paintbrush, no pencils, no nothing. No scratching, which I would have loved to do some scratching on this. What I was also thinking about doing is for Tuesday, don't hold me to this, but for Tuesday's Tech Tuesday, I was actually thinking about repainting this, doing a second version of this, but doing it with paintbrushes and scratching and all the other stuff, just to kind of show you the final outcome, the final difference on the way that would work or how it would look. I know it would certainly take me less time. I could knock that out, much quicker. So that's the bonus with doing it with all the other fun stuff. So it does, Michael, doesn't it? She looks like Joan Jett, and she looks like Joan Jett over here too. So until the power cuts out. Thanks, Simon. If the power cuts out now, Simon, I blame you. All right, what do I got in here? I don't know what I got in here. Yeah, so I've pretty much left this eye for us to do today. I pretty much got the lips done. They need to be a little bit darker, but it's pretty much on there. Her hair too needs to be like darkened, but other than that, we're pretty much there. Yeah, I can't get over how much, and I didn't realize that the Joan Jett thing until I was working on it on Monday. And I'm like, wow, it does look like Joan Jett. It's really weird. And let me know if the feed is okay. I'm getting a weird error message over here. So we'll deal with that if that's a thing. All right. Yeah, we'll see, Simon. It's going to depend on how much of the guitar I get done this week. I'm actually almost done with the 543s, which I'm pretty excited about for this week. We have a bonus special deal this week on Monday Night Live because for the 7K followers celebration, I'm going to give away an extra painting, and the way I'm going to do that is one of the 5 I randomly chose during the week, and whatever that suggestion was, I was going to do it. And whoever had that suggestion was automatically going to win a painting. So I've drawn that name. I've got the painting ready to go. We're actually going to paint that live on Monday, the whole thing, and I will announce the winner tomorrow. So, and then we'll okay, good. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I got the messages gone now. So hopefully that was just a glitch in the matrix. Yeah, so it should be fun. It should be fun. Like I said, what we'll end up doing is we'll paint this person's suggestion live on Monday from start to finish. And I know I can get a 543 done in that amount of time. And I didn't. It was fun because whoever I chose, I was automatically going to do their suggestion no matter what it was. So fortunately, it was a good suggestion. I wasn't unhappy with it. So I was afraid I was going to get something really, really weird or of questionable taste, but it was fine. Everything was fine. All right, so I've got opaque black in here. It's really, really reduced, and I've added a little bit of 40/50 to it as well, and that just helps it smooth out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start by, what I was doing originally while I was talking, like in the bigger, darker areas, like her cheek and her hair and her shirt here, I was just running the brush. I was just trying out the brush. So I can make sure that it's flowing right, and I'm not, you doing this in a critical area, like immediately starting with super detail and then finding out the paint isn't spraying right. But this seems like it's going pretty well. So I'm going to roll with it. I will try to keep an eye on the comments. So, okay, good. All right, so one of the things with these teeny weeny portraits is obviously, and it's true with bigger portraits too, but if you're off on anything with a small portrait like this, even, as you can imagine, if you're off even the slightest bit, it's going to look wrong. It's not going to look like what it should look like. So there's a way that I can kind of check things, and I'll use that flip paper technique to kind of make sure that like her eye is in the right spot and these shadows are in the right spot. For now, I'm just kind of darkening what's there to kind of get it started, but to refine it, I'll use that flipping technique. And hopefully I have the camera in the right spot for this. Because sometimes, because you're looking over my left shoulder and I'm right-handed, so I figured that's a good place for you guys to be. But my head is also left of my brush, so that's also in the way. So if I lean in, you're not going to see anything. So I got to kind of be careful of that, but also with this flip technique, it's done from the left-hand side, so it may get in the way, but hopefully you'll be able to see how it works. So let's use it now, because I want to start getting, if I can get her eye sharpened up a little bit, that's going to make me happy. Oh, Simon, yeah, no, let me show you real quick since I'm getting ready to kind of dig in here. So the reason why I started this was because of David Naylor. And if you're not following David on social media, he's mostly on, I've seen him more on Instagram lately, but I'll show you some of David's work. David's work is awesome. So this is a little alien that he did. I think this is about 8 by 10, but his work is tremendously photorealistic, but not to the point of, being distracting. His portraits are breathtaking. It's just a piece of one. It's one of my favorites here, this fire hydrant painting. So he's fantastic. So he's been doing these little teeny weeny sketches, portrait sketches, on credit card size paper using the new Harder and Steenbeck airbrush. And he's killing it. It's amazing. He's been doing it for a while, a few months anyway. And it's kind of spawned this whole group of other people doing the same thing, doing these little mini portraits. One of my favorite YouTube channels, you guys will be familiar with this gentleman. So Rob over at DreadFX has been doing a bunch of these portraits as well. And so, when I saw all this, I love David's work and he's amazing. So when I saw all this, I was like, oh man, I'm going to try one. And that's how it started. So, yeah, I don't work totally freehand, because for me, there's no reason to. You know what I mean? It's like, it's a great challenge. You know, it's it definitely builds your airbrush control. But for instance, this painting here will hopefully, you know, look like the way I need it to look. It'll look like her, and everything will be right and in the right spot. But this painting took like 5 times longer than it would normally take if I could use a paintbrush or razor blades or, you know, other tools that I normally use when I'm painting. So, so the advantage, or the value of working with freehand alone seems to only mean something to other airbrushers, which is fine. It's, like I said, it's great. But for like a lot of the people, you know, that collect my art, they don't care if it's done all in airbrush or not. And trust me, I've tried, or not tried, but I've checked it out, like done freehand airbrushing stuff, and see if it has any difference in the way that people receive my artwork, and it doesn't. Again, it does to the people who airbrush. They know, and they know how it's, you know, it's harder to do. But other than that, you know, I don't know. All right, so I've got the photocopy, and obviously this is a more exposed copy than this one. So it gives me a little bit more detail in the darker areas that I can see. So what I've done is I've carefully lined this up. It's going to look a little bit off to you guys because you guys are at a slight angle. So, but it is pretty much dead on for me. Not pretty much, it is dead on. So what I do is, instead of, there are 2 ways to do this. If you're doing like a life drawing class, which I would suggest anyone who's into art, do a life drawing class where you go and just draw people, you know, live people that are sitting there. It'll really help your, the way you can see, basically, you know. Basically you look at the subject and then you transfer it over. You know, essentially you look to see where it is, you look at the shapes that are there, and you match those shapes on your image. There's a way to do this with this flip technique that's just kind of a hyper version of that, by kind of putting the copy right on top. And if I stare at this for a second and then flip this up for a split second, I can see the copy on the painting, which is really nice, because then I can get things in exactly where they should be. And I use this especially on portraits, small portraits, because again, if something's just a little bit off, even just a hair off, then it can be pretty ugly. So what I do is just kind of stare at this, flip it a few times, so I make sure that I'm looking at the right thing. And then for this, I have a little extra magnet over here, and I just kind of tack this off to the side. So, and then it's just a combination of using the reference photo, which I'll move up here so I can see it, and working with the copy, the flip. I wish I could tell you that watching someone freehand something this scale is super exciting. I don't really know that that's the truth, because there is so much back and forth. There's so much like spray something in, it goes in the wrong spot, so you have to fix it type of thing. Way more, like if you guys were with me last night while we were talking about the razor blade paintings, with freehand work, especially on this scale, there's even more of that back and forth. It's just endless, because you have a certain amount of control with a good brush like this, but still it's not as much control as a paintbrush. So there's always an instance where it seems like there's an instance where you put something in and the airbrush does its own thing, and then you have to fix that. So there's a lot of back and forth, and that's where all the time comes from with a painting like this. It's not so much the painting part of it, it's the fixing part of it, which, again, for me, I don't mind fixing stuff that happens. Mike, what's up? Timothy John Luke Smith, what's going on? Oh, I said hi, Mike. Sorry. Robert, what's up? Yeah, so it's a constant back and forth anyway with most paintings, but when you work in just strictly freehand, that seems to be all I do is, fix stuff that goes sideways. Tim, your feed was great last night. I really hope you're feeling better, man. I was feeling for you. Tim's got some nasty cold, and it's living in his chest. So he sounded like he was not doing well last night, but I know he's feeling better. So it just sounded worse than it was, but still sounded pretty bad. So I'm glad you're turning the corner on that. It's real important too with the airbrush at this scale too. Since I'm really asking the airbrush to just put out a tiny bit of paint, that's where all the tip dry comes from, all the paint collecting on the end of this needle. If you're just spraying wide open, just covering like an area in the background, the wet paint actually keeps the needle fairly clean. So that wet paint is always coming off the brush. So you don't get a whole bunch of tip dry when you're doing big areas. In this instance, if I was doing like just all that, if I was really getting the hair in and stuff like that, I'm not going to get a whole bunch of tip dry when I'm doing stuff like this, because that wet paint just keeps everything kind of going. But if I'm doing a real tight amount of detail where I just let a tiny bit of paint go and I have a lot of air, which means I've pushed the trigger down and just barely pulled the trigger back so a little paint comes out, you have a lot of air and a little paint, and then that's how you get tip dry. The paint just dries on the tip of the needle because there's not enough paint to keep it flowing. So it's another battle that you have when you're working this small and you're working just freehand. You constantly have to maintain the needle of the brush to clear off all that paint, because you're just going to end up causing, issues. So the way I kind of combat that is kind of go back and forth, jump back and forth between the things I'm doing. So I'll work a little bit on this, the super tight areas on the eye, and then I'll switch to the hair and you kind of blow the airbrush out, just get that paint flowing, make sure there's no clumps or anything or dry paint on there. And then after it's been doing this for a little bit and I've got that brush working well again, then I could switch back to her eye. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's kind of like Russian roulette, you're spraying, hoping that thing doesn't, like, what happens is if the paint backs up and you try to pull the trigger back to make the paint come out, it'll all come out at once and blow, this big spider mess all over your painting. So doing it this way, you're kind of like spraying and just before that happens and then stop and, clean it out or do something else. And it's, like I said, it's like Russian roulette, which is, again, it's always fun. I really want to get her eye in. All right, Michael, I will catch up with you later, man. Thanks for dropping by. Ah, Simon, that's awesome. Oh, Tim, thank you. Jeebus. All right, I want to make sure I get that eye in the right spot. I feel like I do. It's just not done yet. Actually, it's a little bit lower than what I have. So with her eye, to get this in the right spot, because obviously you need it in the right spot because she'll look like she's cross-eyed or wonky-eyed. Generally, I start just softly and work out to the final edge. So that gives me time to kind of mess around with it. Now, as I put that in, that's not in the right spot because it's too small. But the nice thing is what I put down is not in the wrong spot either. You know what I mean? So this other side of her eye needs to come out a little bit. What I found with the other eye, again, it's a lot of back and forth. Meaning, like I got the eye in, it wasn't quite in the right spot. I had to go back, and do the whites of her eyes again to kind of pull it back in and just keep bouncing back and forth until it was in the right spot and it was ready to go. So I'm expecting to have to do it with this eye as well. We'll see, though. I really hope I have enough time to do this painting again, but just use, the techniques I would normally use, like the photocopy cutouts, the paintbrush especially, things like that. It'll be nice to see, A, how fast I can do it or how much faster it is than this. And it'll also be cool to kind of see the difference in the overall look of it too. Hopefully there won't be that much of a difference in the overall look. That's the goal. You know, I mean, just as I don't want this to look like an airbrush painting, I don't want the other version of it to look like a multimedia painting or a multi-tool painting. All right, let's see where the rest of this is. Yeah, okay. And again, there's just a lot of just kind of picking at it back and forth. Let me show you right off of here what's really going on, because you can't see because it's pretty much dark there where I'm working. But what I'm letting out of the brush is things like this. You know, just tiny little dagger strokes, little tiny fades to fill in areas, that kind of thing. So when you add that on top of what's already there, it's difficult to see. So just kind of keep in mind that's what's going on there. Dan, what's going on? Yeah, Tim, I agree with that, especially because, you know, I've gotten so used to doing things a certain way. You know, it's like, I don't know. You know, it's sometimes that's, and Tim, I'm sure you'll agree with this. Sometimes when you switch up the way you do something or the medium that you use, you know, whether you switch to watercolors or oil painting or pastels, the tool will dictate like what happens with you as an artist as well, to a certain degree. So that can be really, really good, because if you're stuck, like say you've reached a creative block or whatever, sometimes it helps a lot to just change something big about what you're doing. It'll show you a different way to kind of think about things. It'll spark your mind up again creatively, because now you have to work around these new challenges with the new medium. So yeah, so like I said, working totally freehand is not, you know, I would suggest it to anyone learning how to airbrush. You're just going to increase your skills, as you know, pretty quick. But to say that, like I said, to say that there is a need for you to just use the airbrush and nothing else, that's more of a personal choice to me. It doesn't, you know, for me, it doesn't change the art, the value of the art any, I guess. All right, this I know. I'm going to put this crease in above her eyelid, but I know I'm going to have to fix it. So I'm not, while I'm, you know, I have a good idea where it's supposed to be, I know this isn't completely right. And I'll do that with the lower part of her upper eyelid too as well. We'll just get something in now, and then I'll start noodling it around. I do know that this, there we go. Also, thank you all who jumped on that my AI post on Facebook. That was really cool. I appreciate that. It was just kind of a random rant because, again, the night before I was on my phone and I was just getting hammered on my Facebook feed with terrible AI art and terrible AI images of people, you know, making sandcastles when they weren't making sandcastles. You know, they were all just AI and all this garbage. And I'm like, I am not happy with this. So I ranted, and it was received well. So I appreciate you guys jumping in on that. One of the reasons Tim loves oil painting is the variety of tools and like paintbrushes, palette knives, and rollers. Yeah, and Tim, is there any other type of painting? I guess there is, but To my immediate knowledge, you think about like all the different ways that you can oil paint. You know what I mean? Like watercolor is kind of watercolor. You know, there are different techniques for sure, but it just seems like there are so many different techniques and ways to oil paint. It's like it's almost endless, and that always makes me happy. Chris Garcia, what's up? What could go wrong? Chris, don't say that out loud. We have just gotten through all those crazy storms. We were fortunate here. The tornado and severe thunderstorms passed pretty much south of us, so we were lucky. But all that moisture is headed towards the northeast right now. My sister in New Hampshire is supposed to get 17 inches of snow today, so yeah. But you know, weather change, changes in the weather, that's not a thing, right? All right, so again, let's fix what I just did, because it's going to be like that. It's going to be back and forth. So the white of her eye, I kind of caved that in, so I'm going to put that back in. I really should go and fix my other Micron B. It needs a new nozzle, which is always fun because they're so expensive, but I really should get that up and running again, because it'd be nice to have two Micron Bs, just for like one for just white detail and one for just black detail. The C does an excellent job, but it's but that B for stuff like this is tough to beat. And that was a big fat mistake right there, but that's okay. Like I said, man, that's what this whole painting is. This whole painting is all back and forth. Now, if you do go watch David, one of the cool things he does is his are more like painting sketches, which are really cool. So he doesn't use white. He just uses whatever color he uses. And he draws with the airbrush like a pencil. And he can sign his name like micro small too. It's really, really neat the way he does it. So again, it's definitely worth the watch. All right, I'm going to just fix all this, and then I'm going to go back in with the black. So I'm not overly concerned about, you know, I'm just basically putting in the white again where I kind of lost it. And I did lose it. I guess the best way I can describe this is it's really like carving, you know. You just kind of push it back and forth. The nice thing is, unlike carving, you can put wood back on. Essentially, with the airbrush, you can reclaim or rebuild up a section that you maybe carved out too deep, which you can't do with wood easily. So. Chris, how's your car, man? That sucked too. Chris actually won the drawing Monday for the 543, but this was just after he found out he had a bunch of car problems, which is never fun. All right, so that looks like I made a mess because I did. So what I've done basically is fixed all the, you know, basically the dark areas that I put in the wrong spot. Now what I did do though is I saved some of the dark areas that were in the right spot, even though they're not, you know, complete. They were right, so they get to stay. Again, get the brush going because I haven't used it in a few minutes. Start small and start pulling this stuff together again. Yep, I've gone too high again. So I wasn't worried about, like that little teeny blowout with the white right there. I wasn't worried about that at all because I knew, like, I'm going to fix all that anyway. It's just going to, again, the freeing part about this is because it's so back and forth. I know that if something goes wrong, I'm not panicking. I know that I got to fix it. You just keep fixing stuff until you've fixed everything or, you're close enough. There we go. So let me get the bottom lid in and then I can go back in and get that white back. What I have found though, because I'm working so tiny with the white, there's so little like blue shift going on there. There is a little bit of blue shift, but it's not like I'm, doing a big area and you get a lot of that blue shift. So as I'm working on this thing, just by reworking an area, I end up fixing everything anyway, fixing all the blue shift. Just by the overspray of the black. Had to buy a new engine, rental. In the rental. That sucks. JR, what's up? Helmet Master. The ASMR sounds of Mr. Leahy. Happy little trees. JR, what are you up to? What's going on? Hopefully some good stuff. All right, let's yeah, all right, so here's the other thing too. So if like even though that eye is super small, like that's my index finger obviously, there's a lot going on in there. So if I start getting overwhelmed, like if I fix a bunch of things and they all go sideways and I got to refix them, and then sometimes what I'll do is I'll just say, okay, just relax, stop, and fix one thing and hang on that one thing until it's done. So I'll show you what I mean. Like the crease on the top of her eyelid here, I want to get that done. I don't care right now about where her eye is, like, her cornea and everything. Her lower lid. I don't care about any of that. I just want to get that upper lid done so that I don't have to worry about it anymore. And then I can move on. And then I've taken one thing off the list. Because again, sometimes, even in a small area like this, there's so much going on and I'm bouncing around and nothing seems to be like kind of getting resolved. And then you get frustrated with it and it's like, just, stop. So it helps to kind of just pick one thing and then go for it. Yeah, that's better. So I'm concentrating on that upper lid right now. We'll get that done and then we'll move on. And if I need to, I'll show you how I would fix blue shift. There's a bunch of white on there where it has a lot of blue shift to it. I haven't told you, but I'd like 543 inspiration. What I'm terrible. Chris, what is inspiration? So I don't have to look right now. So you can remind me. I should remember the titles, but there's so freaking many of them. I don't. But yes, absolutely, and I can get going on framing that for you. No problem. And I will pull that off the site as soon as we're done here. All right, so again, I got the white in here, so I'm going to concentrate on the white on that lid first. Yeah, I have a weird, well, it's definitely just a love-love relationship with the Micron C. I use the B more because of the way that I work and what I do. The Micron C, like, it handles thicker paint like the white a little bit better, but again, the detail isn't as good as the B. So sometimes I'd rather struggle with the B and white instead of using the C and white, even though the C with white is a better choice. But again, it's like literally splitting hairs. They both work great. If one went down and I had to use the other one for everything, I could, that kind of thing. But it's so funny because sometimes, when you get the paint just right and, the temperature is just right in the studio and the humidity and everything's working really great, you're like, I'm never going to use another brush. And then, next week the brush works totally different. And you're like, I'm never going to use this brush again, or this other brush is the best brush ever. And it's like back and forth. So try to keep a bunch of them around for that. I'm going to break my own rule and put a little bit of this white on the bottom. Actually, I'm going to loosen this up a little bit because I do want this to spray a little bit better. This white in this brush is just opaque white, but it's reduced 1 part paint to 1 part reducer, 4011 reducer. Oh, the blank canvas. I like that one. Yay. Okay, yeah, you got it, Chris. I'll get going framing that, and awesome. Yeah, so tomorrow, like I said, I've already pulled the winner for the bonus giveaway for Monday, and I will announce the winner tomorrow, and we will paint that person's 543 suggestion live on Monday. So since you guys are here, I can tell you guys one thing I didn't mention, but was one of the things that was going on with that. With that contest, and I'm going to do the same contest or the same extra giveaway every time probably both social medias, every time they roll over 1,000, I'll give away an extra painting. If you've already won the 543 for the year, you can still win the bonus. And if you haven't won a 543 and you win the bonus, you are still eligible to win during the year. So it's strictly a bonus painting. Just so we know, what the score is. So I didn't want anyone to think they were excluded because they'd already won. I should have mentioned that on Monday, but I didn't. So I will mention it on Monday. All right, how are we looking? I know this looks like trash, and it's good that it does, because hopefully it'll give you a little bit of encouragement for your work when it's, going through the ugly stage, which all paintings do. All right, now this isn't spraying, so. Robert, we need to talk. I want to horn cover for my bike. Yeah, anything, Rob. Rob, believe it or not, those horn covers were hard to find for a little while, which is weird because they fit like almost everything. But we were having a hard time finding them, but now they're back. So I'm thinking about just placing an order for a bunch of them. But yeah. Yeah, Simon, exactly. And I love to tell that story because I hate to think people are, who are especially new people, just feel like it never really locks in 100% all the time consistently, because it just doesn't. I mean, there's always a little bit of back and forth, and once you accept that, once you know that that's normal, it does make things a lot easier, because I don't know, for me, I know I'm not like losing my mind. Well, I am, but not because of that. All right, I'm going to push her eye up one more time. All right, that's enough white. Let's see what we can do with the black again. All right, so actually, if I can get the eye done, I mean, there's still more to do, but if I get the eye done with you guys, I'll be happy. And it's funny because during the week, after I was done Monday night, I'm like, yeah, I'll just do a little bit of it because, I'm going to want something to do on Thursday, and I don't want to do too much and run out of stuff to do on Thursday. But then I, started working on like her lips and stuff, and they took so long to do. I'm like, screw that. I'm going to do as much as I can and then just leave, a little bit to do on Thursday, and it'll fill it in. And boy, was I ever right. Oh. Yeah, I have one more 543 to get done. Oh, Jeebus. It's all screwed up too. Yeah, one more 543 to get done, and then I'm figured I'd end the week. I'm going to work on that guitar. I'm going to see how much I can get done on the guitar. So I really want that done. Really, really want that done. Don't fit my Kawasaki. Yes, you could probably find a way to bolt it on there, Chris, somehow, but yeah, it's not gonna work well. Simon says, a wise man once said, these are the times we need to hug our paintings the most. Absolutely. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I'm hoping someone grabs that horn cover. That came out the way I wanted it to, and I'd love to be able to do more of that same design. Come on, man. There we go. And there it goes, spraying all over the place. Yay! Wrestling match. Tractor pull. It's not really a wrestling match. It's more like a tractor pull. Better. And then there's that moment when like the brush works while you're spraying and you're like, I gotta use it everywhere. Get this done. All right. Trying to think of other, oh yeah, that's the other thing we used to spray a lot of. We used to do designs on the Harley. So Harleys sometimes have a insert in the dash. It's like a long oval removable piece of plastic. So we would do a lot of dash designs too. That was really popular. And then what we would do is we would kind of pair them together. We do like the horn cover, the primary cover, and then the dash. And we put the same design on all three because those are things you can unbolt and put on, take off your bike easily. So it was nice. It kind of gave the bike a little bit of custom paint without having to literally take the whole thing apart. I love the Vulcan, but still goes beep beep. Yeah, but you know the thing about the Japanese bikes, Bob, and you know they're just bulletproof. They'll last forever. You know. I still want a V-Rod. I don't know why. I'm afraid I'm too big for a V-Rod. Like obviously I could never buy a Sportster. Just my legs would drag, that kind of thing. So I'm afraid the same thing is true with a V-Rod for me. Even though I think they're awesome. All right, let's get serious here. I'm getting distracted and I'm doing too many mistakes. All right, so the right side of her eye here, the cornea. And her iris here needs to be bumped out a bit. I clean that up, but that's still not bad. Almost. Yep, almost. Like I said, man, it's, if you're watching like a t-shirt artist do their thing, it's a lot of fun, and it happens super fast, and it's, done in 10 minutes, and it looks awesome. And this stuff is not like that at all. Better, better, better. Getting there. The other trick too is, again, just like talking about, kind of when I'm erasing a part or fixing a part, to try to leave the parts that are right. That can be hard to do. As you're fixing things, I tend to like sweep through everything and make more of a mess. Tim, I'm trying, man. I'm trying. Still not. Oh, I had it right before. Again, do you know how fast this would be for me to take, El paintbrusho, to look at where that, like the bottom of her whites of her eye is, just kind of get that in my head, grab the paintbrush and then just drop that in the right spot. And then, just keep going and then blend it with the airbrush and be done. It'll be like done. However, and you may ask, so why is it so much different with the paintbrush and the airbrush? Because it's the different application of paint. It's like when you have this space between you and the surface, yeah, you can get really good at trying to, or kind of getting it to go where you want it to, but it's still a cone of paint no matter what you do. Even, right down, almost to touching the surface, it's still a little cone of paint. And that cone doesn't always go where you want it to go because there's a lot of air coming out of there too. So, the paintbrush is easy. When you touch the tip of the bristles to the surface, that's where the paint goes. The airbrush, especially on this scale, isn't quite the same. So like I said, it's a lot more wrestling back and forth. Which is why a portrait like this in total freehand doesn't make any sense to me. But that's okay. I'll be better for it in the end, right? Will I? Sure. Yeah, better for it. Are you using Createx or Tim's inks? Chris, this is Createx. Yeah, this stuff would probably be better with one of Tim's mixtures for the super, 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 super tiny stuff. Oh, that's good, Simon. I'm glad. My goal is, obviously to give you guys something that's, relatively enjoyable to watch. I don't mean to, make it sound like this is a torture, because for some people it is. Some people want, like I was talking about with that AI thing yesterday. Some people want everything right away and super fast, and, they want TikTok videos and that kind of thing. And, some people want to see more than that. So I'm one of those people too, so rather than try to cater to something that I don't really, understand as far as wanting everything in like a 5-second blip, I'll just make content that, that I think is good and that I hope people like, and go from there. All right. I'm going to tell you though, like I said, when we were talking earlier about, when the brush is working just right and the paint is working just right, there is almost no better feeling as an artist when that happens, when your tools are all like everything's coming out right. It's like I just want to paint all day. I don't want to stop because it's like this is exactly how it's supposed to be. Everything's working. And it does happen more times than you would think, but still, I mean, there are times when you're wrestling with it too, as most artists can attest, or anyone, with anything really. Yeah, we are actually moving. We're moving in on this. I feel like I don't have enough on the top side of her, the whites of her eyes on this side yet. Yeah, it does have to come up a little bit. Not much, though. Not much. What is nice, though, is when I lean back, both of her eyes are looking in the right direction. That's a great start. That is a really good start, because I can't also tell you how many times I've got zoned in on doing like these super fine details. And usually when you get it to this point and you're just refining the details, they kind of take care of everything else. Like, you can't get like the whites of her eyes in the right spot without having her eyes looking in the same direction for the most part. But sometimes, I just get so zoned in that I lean back and it's like, totally wrong. And I'm like, what happened there? So fortunately, this is not one of those times. So we're doing okay. All right, so this side, I need to raise the whites of her eye up a little bit on this side. I may give myself a little bit more room to move on that and then just carve it back, since it's easier to do that than keep messing with the white. Chris changed the horn on his. Yeah, I have a buddy, Chris, who's kind of an industrial artist. So he makes a lot of steampunky, heavy duty stuff, and he's just great mechanic and, just engineer really. And he's always talking about putting like a full-size train horn in his truck, which in Massachusetts is illegal. You can't actually do that. I mean, you can, but you just can't use it. But still, it's pretty funny. Things like 4.5 feet long. He's going to put the air compressor in the back of his truck. All right, that's better. That's much better. Just a little bit more white on the top of that, though. We're getting there, though. Now, there will come a point, like I've only got a couple drops of paint in these brushes. You can see in this one, the paint is on the inside of the reservoir and the outside. So as the paint does, it will just dry in the brush. So after about, I don't know, I'd say about maybe 20 minutes, 25 minutes, I'll have to flush these brushes out and then put new paint in them, because they'll start not performing well. They'll start, because they're drying and getting thicker, they'll just kind of, they'll need to be swapped out. So it's not something you'd expect necessarily, but it is something that happens. And that's true even if you put the cap on. There's a cap that goes with this brush. There's enough air in there to still cause that to dry up. The B doesn't have a cap at all. It doesn't, they don't even, well, I've seen people 3D print them, but they don't offer one, so. But again, there's still enough air in there to dry the paint. So again, it's just something that we deal with, and it's also one of those things, if you're new, you wouldn't really think about it. You'd be doing your thing and then everything's working fine, and all of a sudden, or slowly over a course of a painting session, your paint just starts not performing right and you can't figure it out. So that's what's going on there. All right, I had a blowout there, but again, that blowout happened in the area that's got to be dark anyway, so it's all good. Yep, good, 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 good. Ah, I missed. I think I just caved that in again. It's not terrible. It's close, but it's not terrible. Come on, man. Yep, I just totally caved that in again. So all that work I just did to get the extra white in there, I just put the black in, and I just put too much black in. Again, this is what it is. It's just back and forth. You know what I want to do? Since we're like, you guys are right there, let me switch the camera over here. I'm going to move you guys like really close to this eye, just so you can really see what's going on here. Because I think, oh, what is with that? Why would that be that way? Hold on. There we go. That's much better. Unplugging the camera by accident because I'm wrestling with it. There we go. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. All right, let's see what we got here. You'll be a little bit more of an angle, but you'll be closer, so. Oh, crap. Come on, what is going on here? I'm fine. Everything's fine. There we go. This is not rocket science. It is kind of rocket science, but not really. Oh, that's better. Yeah, you guys would be right in on the mix. Get this back hooked up. I still needed to get another HDMI cable for this camera. I bought, like I said, I bought a new one so I could have a little bit more or a little less tension on the cable. And I think something's wrong with the cable because it's worse now. All right, this is better. So here's what we're doing now. Make sure you're in focus. And you get a better idea of like the kind of detail that's going on with this. Let me make sure that that eye's focused in and you can see what I'm doing. There we go. Good. Now you can see all the blowouts and everything too. All right, where was I? So yeah, that's what we're doing. That's what we got. So it's not terribly off. I want to get the white back and above her eye though. So exactly what I was saying to you guys. So that's the white's starting to dry up in the brush. I can tell by the way it's spraying. It's not coming out smooth anymore. It's just kind of like chunking out. So I may have to swap this out. I'm also going to do up here in her upper, on the upper part of her eyelid here, I'm going to just kind of spread this white out a little bit more across the board. Even though I don't need it all over her eyelid, when I go to shade that out, I'll be able to just kind of blend it all back in. All right, that's good. That's got to be straightened out a little bit more. So this is the month too. I hopefully will get good news from the butler on the mid-year. Really hoping to get a painting in that show, and also Manifest down in Cincinnati. I should hear from them, hopefully. Well, I'll definitely hear from them this month. It's just whether it'll be good news or bad news. So, and that's too much white, but whatever. All right. And both of those shows are in June. So yeah, so June's going to be a busy month, hopefully. Oh, actually, I probably could have given a little bit more white there. All right. So the only good news is about this, like this eye looks like, you know, she's been punched in the face 12 times. That's what I'll come out with in the end if I stick with it. So that I'm going through the same thing with both eyes. It's just, you know, now you get to see, you know, the train wreck that this is while it's kind of going through the paces. You also notice too that there's no blue shift on this eye either. I didn't really add anything to it. It's just the constant back and forth with the black, which is really warm anyway, will take care of that blue shift, which you can see above this eye, where it looks like, you know, that's kind of a bluish color right now. That'll disappear. All right. Yeah, let's finish that up, I think. I like that. I want to get that lid done. I feel that's in the wrong spot though. Yeah, I'm going to get this crease done above her eyelid, and then I can fix the rest of her eyelid. So we're going to get the crease in first, the dark part of the crease, and then I'll add the white to kind of clean it up, and then I'll jump back with the black if I need to. So, yeah. Yarp. My God, it's going to be so good to get back to 543s after this. 543s are like sketching for me. They're free and they're fun and they don't take very long to do. And yeah, after this, it's like, yeah. All right, so I know I need to add more to this. And yes, I'm holding my breath while I was there for a second. A little bit too much. That's all right. No, it's actually not too bad at all. Okay, good. That was close. That was close. Don't screw it up. Don't do it. Don't do it. All right, now the top of the whites of her eye. So this top lid here, the line right here, is a little bit too thick, but that's great because I actually have to make the whites of her eye a little bit bigger. So that'll also just kind of naturally thin out the line of her eyelid where eyelashes are. I definitely need this to spray right though. Here we go. It's too much. That was close. Wasn't terrible, but again, everything I'm doing here would take 5 seconds to do with a paintbrush. Literally like 5 seconds. Come on, man. So close. So close to being okay. I have to fix that one more time, I think. Going too thick. No, that's just not terrible. That's too high, though. Okay. Getting there, though. Getting there. Slowly but surely getting there. I should be drinking. What I really should be doing is drinking, but just coffee. Coffee today. All right, so this can't really see it. This line right here is a little bit too arched. It should be flattened a little bit. So I'm going to do that. And again, it seems like it's super minor, and it really is, but it's major in the way that her eyes look. If you get to a point where you're just like, yeah, that's probably good enough, then it's not going to look like the person that you're trying to get. Those details are really what makes it. And on a, such a small portrait, that's really, again, everything is just magnified, really. Like every single move is magnified, even though it's smaller. You know what I mean? If you're off a little, you're off a lot. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. That looks good, though. Yeah, that looks pretty good. That top lid. A bit brighter right on the kind of main part of her lid. It's a little bit brighter, and then there are eyelashes there too, but I'll deal with those after. I don't want to go and start putting in eyelashes where, if the lid isn't right. That's good. Okay. Yeah, I feel good about that. I like her cheek. Her cheek's in a good spot. Bottom lid is close. Actually, bottom lid is close. So let's work on that, and then we'll work on her cornea and her iris. Can't really see her cornea. All right, let's get this bottom lid in. Oops. Let's see where that is. That's pretty good. Pretty good. Oh, I'm going to show you guys something else too. I don't know. I can't show you with the close-up camera because you're so close. But as soon as I do this, I'll switch over to the overhead camera. I'm gonna have to fix that anyway. All right. So a really cool trick that I do a lot now is in holding your brush. Now there are different ways where you put your index finger. Some people like to use just the tip of their finger. Some people push the trigger down all the way to the little crease. I'm usually somewhere in the middle, but I do move my finger around depending on what I'm doing. So there's no super right way to do that, wherever is comfortable for you, but that's really not what I'm talking about here. The other thing I do a lot is I'll brace my hand, almost like you're firing a gun. You just kind of let your hand rest in your other hand, and then that'll allow me to kind of brace on the surface. And that really helps steady me too. There's one other thing that I've been doing, and I just kind of picked it up just on the side, and it really works well for me. So a lot of times I'll like get so into what I'm doing that I'll really have this kind of death grip. For some reason, for me, if I put the airbrush on my index finger right here, and then my thumb is on the handle back here, so I'm holding the brush like this, that really allows, for some reason, it takes all the pressure off my index finger. Like I'm not clamping down on the brush anymore. I'm almost like just this hand is holding the airbrush and this hand is just controlling the trigger, which is really, really nice. Now, I know everyone has, a different grip. Like some people, just naturally grip it nicely with these, these two fingers here, and then their index finger is just doing the trigger. But I really tend to like lock my hand down. And for some reason, by just kind of holding the airbrush like this and then just using the trigger, it really like relaxes my hand. So again, I just figured I'd pass that on because that's a new thing for me. You think, you don't ever really change the way you do things when you've been doing things for so long. But I definitely have. That's a new thing for me. Make sure that's in focus. All right. Where was I on that bottom lid? Actually, wow, that's pretty damn close. I'm happy with that. It's good. The top lid, that's what I was busy screwing up. Yeah, I did. I put extra black on that. Okay. Before I move on, let me get that top lid back in place. Yeah, this paint is definitely drying out on me. All right. How's that other side look? Still over here, yeah. Oops. Ah, you suckbag. Oh, well. Well, all right. That was unfortunate. And then, yeah. Again, at this scale, like what just happened, that little blowout with the white, is so minor. Like on a regular size painting, you would never even notice. It wouldn't even be a bad thing. But on this scale, it's like crap. It's like right there, and it's big, and it's in the middle of everything, and it just looks like trash, and blah, blah, blah. So, but I got white on there anyway, so there's that. Before I take too much of this away, I want to make sure. Yeah, okay, good. So I keep on this, especially on the side of her, on the whites of her eyes on this side, I just keep, I keep running over the white that I add and then having to redo it. I just don't want to do that anymore. I want to, the bottom of her whites are now wrong. Okay. Back and forth and back and forth. Back. Are we having fun yet? Are we having fun yet? Oh man, this is why this painting would never make a good open studio. No one would want to watch like 80 hours of, of back and forth, just screwing up. So add a little bit of extra white down the bottom here, so that way I have enough to work with. Again, it's easier to spray black than it is white. Yeah, I'm glad I did that. So now I can come back in. And with the black, I can just kind of like carve this white from the bottom up. How close are we now? Need a little more white. Dang it. Oh, how'd that get there? Did I scratch that? Well, that was lovely. That worked. Yep. Oh, this black is now crapping out on me too. Alrighty, let's see what we can do. See if we can get a little bit more life out of this. Start by fixing whatever that says over here. So what I'm doing again, I'm doing her, the shadows in her eyebrow here just to kind of get the brush, making sure I get the brush working. Same thing here with the shadow on the side of her nose is really dark. So it's a good chance to get the brush, make sure that, I can get what I can get out of this paint before it's totally gone. That's before I move on to the more critical parts where I want to make sure, like I said, I just want to make sure the brush is working. Not so much the brush, the paint really. That's good. How are we looking now? Yeah, actually that's coming together. Good. There we go. There we go. I got too much white. Oh, so close to not screwing that up, but alas, we have screwed it up. Still need to take some of that white out. I am totally not going to torture you guys for much longer. Again, this is, I think you have a pretty good idea now of the back and forth that goes into this for me. I should really fix the white. So there's a little spider webbing that's going on in their eye from the black, kind of kicked out. So I'm just going to fix that. That's actually an easier fix. I just got to be super patient with it and not try to go nuts with it. Because the white is essentially right. So I just got to be real patient and just lightly fog over that tiny little wedge to kind of take that spider webbing out. Her iris is still not right. It's still not in the right spot and not the right shape, but saving that for last. If I can get everything around it right, then it'll be easy to kind of set up that circle in the middle where it should be. But if I mess with that first, sometimes it's a little bit harder to get that in the right spot. Need a little bit more white down there, but that's okay. All right, let's get this side of her iris. Ultimately, the white part of her eye on this side is going to be shaded a little bit, but I don't want to do that until I absolutely have that shape in the right spot and everything's working. You know what I mean? If I go and shade that, then I find I need to do an adjustment on it. Then I got to spray with white again, and it just defeats it just removes all the work I did. So I'm going to leave that just like that. It's kind of a bright white until I know that that's exactly in the right spot. And it's actually looking pretty good. Which is good because this black is fading out pretty fast here now. If the black is dying, then I know the white is too, because I've put them in the brush at the same time. And they tend to dry around the same time. So let's what could go wrong? We'll use the white, see what we got. A little chunky. Not bad though. Not bad, not bad, not bad. It's coming together though, it really is. Yeah, I'm not displeased with that. And I think probably, since I'd have to clean out all the brushes and swap the black paint and everything, might be a good chance to probably call it there. Because we have wrestled this thing into just about into submission, so. Yeah. So the iris in this eye seems a little bit too big, but it's only because there's not the rest of the shading on all that yet. No, her eyebrow doesn't arch as much as I have it here, so we'll switch over and fix that real quick, because that's kind of a low commitment thing. Like, the paint isn't working real well now, so what I can do in the end, instead of dumping that paint out, because it's still working, it's just I can't get super tight with it. But what I can do is like her hair. So with the rest of this paint, I can just kind of blast in her hair, because that's going to work okay for this. In fact, it'll work a little bit better because as it reduces or as it dries, it gets more opaque. The reducers and the 40-50 are evaporating out of here, and it just makes the color more opaque. So that's perfect for doing stuff like her hair. And that's usually what I end up doing. I'll do a little bit, with a little bit at a time with her hair with the paint that's drying out. And then we don't waste the paint, and we actually get a paint that does a good job at that. So I'm going to get you guys farther back too and straight on at the end, so you can kind of see it straight on. You won't be at that weird angle, but yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy with the way this is going. So you guys have big plans for the weekend, hopefully. I know last weekend was Easter for those who celebrate Easter. It's like I said, it's been raining nonstop here, so normally I would start getting out into the yard and getting things cleaned up, but haven't had a chance because the place is a swamp. I may have no choice though. I have to get out there whether it's a swamp or not. Which is no fun because there's no power equipment out there if it's as wet as it is, because you'll end up leaving it behind, especially the bigger mower. She looks just like Joan Jett. It's weird. All right, yeah, let me back you guys up because I'm just about out of paint. So that's a good, well, that's the way back, but I'm not going to subject you to that view. But it's a good view too, because it shows you how big it is. It's about this, again, David is working on these test cards from Harder and Steenbeck, which I had found out from Rob at DreadFX that those cards are about the size of a credit card. And those are the paintings that Rob has been doing has been on credit card size paper. So that's what I ended up using. I grabbed the size of a credit card, and yeah. All right, so that's what we got so far. So after all that, let me make sure it's in focus. After all that noodling and picking back and forth, now she's missing the highlight on her eye, and there still needs to be a lot more shadow in there too. But yeah, it's finally coming together. What do you know? So I hope you guys enjoyed that. Like I said, to me, I think it makes the least enjoyable content, or exciting content anyway, because it is all back and forth. But I think it's important to kind of show the wrestling match that some of these paintings can be, especially when you choose to do these things as just freehand airbrushing alone. They can be a lot of fun. But yeah, it's definitely getting there, I think. I hope. All right, I'll move these. So I'm going to get back to that last 543. I'm going to finish that up, get that done, and then that opens up tomorrow for me to work on the Beatle guitar. So that's going to be a lot of fun too, because I really want to get that done, and I'm feeling I'm at the better than halfway point with that. And that's always a good feeling, because then, you know, it's the teeter-totter kind of shifts, and it seems to pick up speed for me, both in enjoyment and excitement and all that. So it helps to move the project along when I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, especially on something like that, something as big as that, as far as the detail goes. As far as Monday goes, what we're going to be doing again, if you want to come back on Monday on Facebook, the fifth 543 has been chosen randomly, and that person will win either that painting or a painting of their choice, a 543 of their choice. And then I'm still going to do the regular giveaway. So we'll give away 2 paintings on Monday, which will be a lot of fun. If you would like to join us, that's great. Come by and make your suggestions, and you can win a painting too. So that's how it works. All right. Have a great weekend, everyone. Be safe, be happy, take care of one another, and I will catch you guys all next time. You get to look at DreadFX's YouTube channel on the way out. So have a good one.